We thank you so much for watching Law School Made Easy at Law School Made Easy 256. We ask you to subscribe and keep sharing and liking our videos. Keep the comments coming. So today we are going to discuss a question which has been sent by a colleague, a friend, someone called Talemwa from KIU. Sent a question asking, is death penalty still a punishment in Uganda? Discuss. Is death penalty still a punishment in Uganda? Discuss. I will say, to give you the answer, yes, it is still a punishment. But the but is going to come in the question, in what we are going to discuss. So stay here until the end. You're going to understand why I'm saying but, why I'm saying yes, it is still a punishment, but again, it is not a punishment. However, in this video, I'm going to expound on what I mean. So the question is the death penalty still a punishment in Uganda? Colleagues, let's begin with the Constitution. Article 22 of the Constitution provides that no person shall be deprived of life intentionally. That no one can take away your life intentionally. Except if you're serving a sentence passed in a fair trial by a court of competent jurisdiction and confirmed by the highest appellate court. So, the Constitution has given you ways how your life can be taken away. So, if you are serving a death sentence, if you are serving a sentence passed in a fair trial, then your life that way can be taken away from you. Okay? If you are serving a death sentence passed in a fair trial by a court of competent jurisdiction, then your life can be taken away. In clause 2, no person has a right to terminate the life of unborn baby except by authorized by law. Okay. So I have given you the article 22, which talks about protection of life. Now let's enter into the question of a colleague. Is the death penalty still a punishment in Uganda? Remember, the article I've just given you says that no one is supposed to take away your life. The Constitution has guaranteed you life. But again, the Constitution has taken away that life from you by saying, in the same Article 22, that if you are serving a sentence passed in a fair trial by a court of competent jurisdiction, then your life can be taken away from you. Okay? Now, let's go to the case of Susan Chigula versus Uganda. Now, Susan Chigula, a very young lady, was convicted for having killed the husband with his maid. That they connived and killed the husband. Therefore, she was convicted and she was sentenced to death penalty. The punishment given to Susan Chigula was one of death penalty. Now, Susan Chigula spent 10 years without being killed, without the punishment being executed. Okay? Now, Susan came to court and reported in the case I am saying Susan Chigula and 416 others versus Uganda. Susan Chigula was saying that they were convicted and the sentence was death penalty. However, her bone of contention was the mode in which it's going to be done will subject her to torture. Even the time they have spent waiting to be killed, had subjected them to inhuman treatment under Article 24. So let's read Article 24. Article 24 says that no person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. No person shall be subjected to any form of torture or cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Now, Article 24 of the Constitution is saying that no person should be subjected to any forms of torture, cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. This is Article 24. It's saying no one should be subjected to any form of inhuman or degrading punishment, torture or cruel. But remember, Susan Kigula was convicted and sentenced to a death penalty, meaning that Susan was now contesting, saying that the time we have spent waiting to be hanged, to be taken to the slaughter chamber, the time we have spent is subjecting us to inhuman treatment. Even the method they want to use, by hanging or anything, will be subjecting us to torture. Yet the Constitution prohibits anyone from being subjected to any form of torture or inhuman treatment. So that was the bone of contention. So they were contesting, Susan and 400 others, they were contesting, okay, the mode in which they are going to be killed, and also the time they have spent waiting was torturing to them. Now, someone will ask yourself, why are we saying Susan Kigula and 416 others? At that time, the 416 are the people who were in prison and were all on death sentence, death penalty. Now, after the case of Susan Kigula, the Chief Justice Bart Katurebe, in his what we call sentencing guideline, he advised judicial officers and he told them that while you are exercising your discretion, make sure that as you give a sentence, death penalty should be the rare of the rarest. Quote the words of the Chief Justice. In his sentencing guidelines, he advised judicial officers that when you are carrying out your discretion in the course of your business, as you do your jobs, when giving sentences, the sentence of death penalty should be the rare of the rarest. Rare of the rarest. What does it mean? The Chief Justice Bart Katurebe was telling them that this should come as the last resort. And that explains why today, when they are sentencing someone, you hear you have been sentenced for 200 years, 100 years. But literally, no one would reach 200 years, ideally. So meaning that they have sentenced, they are also saying you go and die in prison. But for us, we shall not kill you. So the death penalty has become rare amongst the judges as they are exercising their discretion. And that we get it from the sentencing guideline issued by the Chief Justice Emeritus Bart Katurebe, where he told judicial officers that the sentence of death penalty should be the rare of the rarest. At worst, don't give it. And that explains why these days you are being sentenced to 10 years, 20 years, 100 years, 120 years, So because they are trying to run away from sentencing people to death, trying to protect the Constitution, which guarantees the life, which guarantees everybody a protection of their life. So the question is the death penalty still there? Yes, it is there, but it is rare. It is no longer considered as first priority. Judges are now considering giving 100 years, 120 years, 200 years, just because they are running away from the death penalty. And also, we have signed on very many international pacts or treaties where death penalty has been condemned and unacceptable, and that's why we have technically run away from it. Much as the Constitution allows us to take away a life of somebody who is under a sentence from a fair trial, okay, by a court of competent jurisdiction, whereas that is happening, the judges, under the sentencing guideline issued by the Chief Justice, as he was then, Bart Katurebe, are trying to distance themselves away from the death penalty. So that is how you go about the death penalty. We thank you so much for watching Law School Made Easy at Law School Made Easy 256. Subscribe, share, like our videos. Until next time, thank you. Cheers.